Okay, so how to kill cravings, boost immunity, and increase energy levels. We all want that, right, mamas? And I want to start off with a bit of a background story with where I came from. So I've always been into trying to change, always into trying to eat healthy, or thought I ate healthy and thought that I had a balanced diet, and and then I balanced that with exercise, so forth. And it wasn't until I started to have started to change my lifestyle and my habits when I had my little girl, and she was 2 at the time, so my first baby, Amira. And like I said, I thought I ate reasonably healthy, like a lot of mums do. Thought that I had a balanced diet, and I thought my daughter did too. And then what I started to notice was the more I started to exercise a lot, and I started doing multiple hours of cardio and all that type of thing, I found that I started to become more aware that with my eating there was always something missing. I felt as though I had a great appetite and I always ate. I've never tried to not eat, but there was always, every time I ate, I felt like I wasn't satisfied. And then I always felt as though something was missing, and then so the cravings would come, and then that's when you'd finish doing an exercise class and you'd go to the service station and get an ice cream or 2 ice creams, because you didn't feel that satisfaction, and you had those cravings for something else. Another point that was happening in my life there was that when I went back to work, my little girl went to daycare, and she was always getting sick. And I know that that's a common thing, that when they start daycare they pick up everything, and then that just builds their immunity and all the rest of the sort of myths that we're led to believe in our society. And then I came about changing my lifestyle and my habits, and learning a lot more about exercising less and focusing more on, improving your choices with your eating and your habits and everything like that. And so with that, along came my second baby. And when I fell pregnant with her, I'd already been working on my habits, and the key thing that we're going to talk about tonight, and what I did to improve my habits, and my immunity started to get better. And then and my energy levels, all that kind of jazz. And then when I had Logan, I had a really great pregnancy. Then when I had Logan, and she's 3 and a bit now, and she's taking on these exact same habits and lifestyle choices and stuff that we've taught her, because she doesn't know any different. And now she's in daycare. I've noticed a massive difference in her immunity. And she rarely gets sick. She sometimes gets sick if she's had a little bit more off the plan than she would normally, or she's had a few parties, or she's had a few late nights or whatever. That's when she tends to pick something up. But generally, because we're so consistent in what we do, generally she doesn't get sick at all. And I see these other little kids with snot out of their noses constantly, and coughing and coming down with this, that and the other. And I want to tell you that it isn't the norm, and that there is something that we can do about it to improve their health and to improve our health. So that's a little story that I wanted to share with you mamas, the difference between my first baby and the habits and lifestyle choices that I made back then compared to now. And this is what I'm really passionate about, coaching my mamas as well, because it's not just about us, it's about our overall health for our children as well. And then we're going to be teaching them these lifestyle habits and choices for when they get older, and so forth and so forth. Science, go.
Thanks. So immunity wise, let's talk immunity for a second here, because a lot of the stuff that we sort of told in Western medicine, in our society, is that you need to vaccinate to avoid certain things, and I'm pro vaccination in this household.
This is an anti-vaccination.
This is not an anti-vax conversation at all. the reason I bring up vaccination is because the way a vaccination helps is it gives you a little bit of the virus, and then your body gets used to the virus. Because of that whole concept, the earlier generation, the generation before ours, they have sort of adopted this idea that if your kids are getting the sick and they're fighting it off, eventually
they're building their immunity.
they're going to build their immunity, and it doesn't quite work that way. Of course, in some circumstances where the vaccines do that, it works in that way. But when we're talking about tummy bugs, common colds, things that you pick up and transfer really easily, what actually counts towards immunity in the body is how the white blood cells work together, and more importantly, how they're fueled. And if there is no fuel for those white blood cells to do their magic, then your body's going to have a really hard time fighting off anything that comes your way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
common colds, common bugs, all that kind of thing.
So getting back to our daughter, you know, we experience and see her walking around a classroom with kids with snot, you know, all over their faces and hands, and you get that icky sort of feeling when you see that, and to just imagine how many different kinds of strains of flu and tummy bugs she's exposed to every single day. She's doing well to fight it off because she has this the fuel in her body to boost her immunity. And this is a little known fact. And the little known fact here, hey Simone, hey Jennifer. The little known fact about how our immune system functions is it actually takes fuel from our muscles. So our muscles are predominantly made from an amino acid called glutamine. Think of it as like a Lego block, right? About close to 90% of our muscles are made up of this Lego block. And muscle doesn't just sit on the bone, it's very active in the body. It's actually a very active reserve for not only immune system fuel, but even the fuel that we use to run and sprint to catch, you know, a falling plate or
a falling kid.
Those really snap decisions that you need to make, and that snap energy,
reflexes, memory, that kind of that kind of jazz as well. And to actually stabilize cravings as well.
So
you're gonna get, is that what you're gonna get to next?
I'm getting there. So
I'm just excited to share this with you. So I'm like,
our muscles are a very dynamic reserve for immune system fuel, immediate source of energy for our muscles to move, and a host of other things. And back to the immunity case, our bodies are constantly drawing on that reserve. So we're constantly taking glutamine, or that Lego block, out of our muscle mass and using it. Poof, it goes off into the air to fight off that allergen or fight off whatever.
So then if we're not replacing it.
So if we're not replacing
that's how you get sick.
What ends up happening is you end up in a negative, like your bank account, a negative number in your bank account. So you don't have any fuel in your bank account, you don't have any fuel in your muscle mass. So when you go and you do get somebody cough or sneeze, or you know,
get exposed to that,
you don't have the fuel there to fight it off anymore, and that's when you get sick. Furthermore, a lot of sugar, especially processed sugar, suppresses the immune system as well. So you sort of got two problems there that help each other out. If you're not having enough protein in your diet, and you are having a lot of processed carbs in your diet, you're going to have a really tough time through winter, and you're going to have a really tough time actually getting rid of the sickness as well. So we don't want to push across to you that you will never get sick, because it's not the case. You will get sick, but
less often.
You will get sick less often, and your body will fight it off much quicker, and you'll be rid of it much quicker. It won't go around and around and around the house if you're all eating enough of this protein that we need. And unfortunately, the daily recommended amount of protein doesn't take into account health-conscious people who are active.
Yeah.
These recommendations that dietitians and a lot of the state-funded research shows is for sedentary people, for very low activity kinds of people. And if you are active, if you are moving, you're going to the park, you're riding bikes,
have intentions of going to the gym, we are fit mamas, so we do have that intention to go to the gym.
You need much more protein than what's recommended.
And first class protein in every meal, and so do our babies.
Yeah. So this protein is pretty awesome stuff. Not only does it boost immunity, it will kill your cravings as well.
Yes.
So in your body, you've got a bit of a system where your body knows how much blood glucose it needs circulating around your body at any given time. And because our diets are very processed in a typical Western diet, our body doesn't know how to regulate that. And we get a lot of spikes and we get a lot of crashes. So spikes in energy and then big crashes in energy as well.
Yeah.
That's
the 3:30-itis joke, commercials take on it and everything. Back to me with something missing.
Yep.
Yep. So that's what I was going to say as well. So back to when I always felt like something was missing. So I ate every couple of hours, or I ate every 2 to 3 hours, and I never felt actually satisfied. And that was because I had a highly processed type diet, really. Like, that's what I was just brought up on, and I thought it was balanced. But once I introduced this protein in every meal, and we're not saying go now and slog yourself out with protein in 6 times a day. If you're having 3 meals a day, just start to become aware of, does it have first class protein in it? Like your some eggs or whatever, soups and stuff, whatever you like to eat for breakfast, in lunch, does it have a first class protein in it? For dinner, is there a first class protein? Is there meat? Is there eggs or any fish, any kind of first class protein?
Yeah. And
you will find a big difference in your satisfaction when I don't even know if that's a word, but I use that as
satisfaction.
A word. No, it's satisfaction to me. That's how I feel when I have a meal with first class protein in it.
So how would it be if you said
look at your head, you're like, oh. But yeah, so that's when I started. All I did the first time was switch from Wheat Bix. Wheat Bix is what I used to have for breakfast, and thinking that that's a healthy meal, because Western society do think that that's a healthy meal.
And there's protein on the
packet. But all I did was simply switch from Wheat Bix in the morning to a lovely omelette with some veggies in there and some ham and whatever. And I felt satisfied. And I was like, wow, this is what I'm meant to feel like after food.
Yeah. And a typical meal or smoko or tea for you would be like a muffin.
And coffee.
And coffee.
Yeah.
And tasty.
Tasty, but
it goes straight through you.
Yeah, but it also stores as fat. It doesn't give you the proper energy that you need. Yeah, and it does makes you, like, it might taste nice at the time, but it doesn't actually make you feel uplifted and ready to go for the busy life. It gives you a big spike,
and then it gives you a big crash.
Yeah,
because there's no substance behind it, and that's what this.
But I can tell you, even in terms of mind frame and depression and stuff, like, I feel better when I have that sort of meal, and that's what I mean by satisfied and something missing and all that. I mean the whole lot. Like, I really found a massive difference in switching from highly processed stuff to having a full, great, healthy meal.
Yeah.
Going, oh, I feel so much better in my whole being.
Yeah, and the thing is you may not be ready to give up your little coffee and muffin for tea, but if you had something alongside it, that had a first class protein in it, then the meal itself would satisfy you a lot more, because it's now not only one source of nutrition, it's 2 sources of nutrition.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that you need to understand, is that these things are gradual, and if you are having your muffin and your coffee and you don't quite get to lunch before feeling hungry or crashing, adding in a small tin of tuna, adding in a couple of hard-boiled eggs, adding in
chicken,
some chicken or ham or whatever,
chicken
whatever you
rissoles.
want to add in there, adding in that alone will start to, you know, satisfy you longer, and you won't be searching and you won't be ravenous for foods later on.
That makes you make those poor choices in the long run.
So stick around to the end, because we're going to define what a first-class protein is for you.
Yeah,
we've touched on immunity.
Killed cravings.
Well, we sort of have, but I want to just put the nail on the coffin with cravings. Is the only time you'll ever crave something is if your body's gone without. So if your body's gone without enough energy, particularly, you will start to crave for something that's very quick.
The quickest source of
energy.
And
your mind's not silly. Your mind knows that you can go to the fridge and get something that's full of sugar, and it's going to give you that instant hit. Whether you're sugar or savory, you'll look for something that's processed. So the way we kill cravings is through increasing protein. It boosts immunity, and it sort of smooths out your energy levels, so that when you do have some energy in a meal like a muffin, and then you have your protein alongside it, it slows down the digestion process. It makes your body work for it, and it delivers it a lot more nicely than a big shot of energy that only lasts for so long.
And we know with even mamas like watching your kids have a muffin, or watching your kids have a cookie or a piece of chocolate, right? And they go, or they're at a party and they go, and they're so happy and they're on top of the world and this is so awesome, and then boosh, and they're moody and cranky and chuck tantrums. We're just adult versions of that. We know how to manage it a little bit better. But you'll find that you snap when you've got that, when you're hungry or you're going without, and you're craving something, even though you give into that craving, when you have that crash, you'll snap at your kids, you'll snap at your partner. You hangry.
So we'll touch on a concept that is very misunderstood in this industry, and something that not a lot of people really speak about, and that's fuel shifts. We'll go over it because it's important to understand that your body doesn't require one certain amount of energy requirement. It doesn't require one set
counts.
It doesn't require a fixed model of what you think healthy eating is. It's dynamic, and it needs different things on different days. If you're working out on a particular day, you'll need something more than if you weren't working out, so on and so forth. So what happens in the body when you start a health kick? You start to expend more energy in the gym, and your energy levels, or your energy expenditure, or how much energy you're using, goes up. And then quite often, because we're health conscious at the time, we start to cut back on the junk and the stuff that we would normally
rather than replace.
Normally eat, and then the energy consumption goes down. So what ends up happening is, if I can show you here, your energy expenditure is going up, and then your energy consumption is going down, and this gap here gets much too large. And what ends up happening is your body will shut down. You'll get sick. You'll get demotivated, you won't recover,
cranky, hungry,
all of that stuff,
moody, snappy,
and you won't be able to continue on that good intention. What needs to happen is, as you get fitter and stronger and expend more energy, you actually need to increase your energy alongside it. Okay, so that it comes up together. And a fuel shift is where your body literally resets. It starts to use the food that it's getting in a much more efficient way. And this is all tied into that reprogramming of your metabolism, actually building your metabolism. And the cool thing about this is you can get to a point where you're eating much more than you normally eat, and you're exercising, very intensely, but you're recovering, and you're getting to a point where your metabolism is really working well for you. It's really strong. It's working well for you, and if you do go out and you do indulge in something, it doesn't impact you as hard as it would if you didn't focus on improving that metabolism
consistently before it.
Yeah. So every time, for example, Megan and I get into a routine and we start to feel a little hungrier, feel a little bit cloudy and not satisfied from our meal, we'll actually increase our protein by 10%. So we'll add more protein to our meals, or we'll add more plant food to our meals.
Because your body is requiring more energy.
So we'll actually increase how much we're eating. And this is where diets will fall over time and time again, because you get this set plan, you follow it, and then all of a sudden, you know, that gap gets too large, you don't know what's going on, you put it down to your willpower or your motivation, and then you just throw your hands up in the air.
And then it becomes that vicious cycle, like the vicious diet cycle as well. And
Exactly.
I've been through it before as well, not understanding the fuel shift before, and gone on, well, okay, to lose body fat, you just stop eating shit and you just keep eating your good food. Well, then, you know, your body starts, like Pete all explains, the metabolism catches up on you, and then you start feeling crap and you start getting cravings, and then you're getting fatigued. And Alicia just said that fatigue is a big thing for her. If you don't increase the energy levels, then you go on that, then you go and crave, and you give in and go and have, you know, shit. And then you're back to square one again. So you increase the good quality as your metabolism resets. So Alicia, fatigue is a big thing for you, and you get hungry after your nighttime meal. Yeah, cool. So that's when let's pop in that Mocha Delight that we posted last night. Was it last night?
That was last night.
So after your dinner, have that, see how you feel.
So I'll explain to you what a first class protein is now. So then we can move on to the action task. First class protein is a protein that has all of the amino acids, Lego blocks, that we need in our body, that our body cannot synthesize itself. So for example, our body can make certain things in the body, but it can't make other things. And that's what gives it the term essential. A first class protein has all 8 essential amino acids, all 8 essential Lego blocks, right? Now, most of the foods that contain all 8 are actually animal proteins. There's one plant protein that does include all 8 as well. It's soy. So if you are vegetarian or vegan, then incorporating soy will be very important. However, you can get your essential amino acids through eating plant food that is high in protein, like chickpeas and legumes and stuff. You just need to eat a lot more. Soy's tofu. You just have to eat a lot more of that plant food to get it in. But bringing it back, so as long as if you are a meat eater and you do eat meat, then the proteins that are first class are typically animal proteins, but lean sources. So a lean source is defined as an animal source of protein that has less than 10 grams of 10 grams of fats per 100 grams. So this would be premium mince. This would be chicken, anything on the chicken thigh, chicken breast. It doesn't matter. This will be anything on the chicken. A whole roast chicken is good.
In one sitting, every
there's, what else is there? Lean cuts of lamb with the fat chopped off. Fish, so deep sea fish is great, great source. Even white fish.
What about beef? Steak? Beef,
we've got beef, making sure that obviously the visible fat's being trimmed off.
Eggs, egg whites.
We've got protein powders as well. Some protein powders are good. I'll steer clear of anything that has shred or women's protein or anything written all over it. They typically have a lot of additives that don't need to be in there, and they cost exorbitant amount of money, but that's another talk. Whey protein isolate is the best one, and that's a first class protein. Low fat milk. Yogurt.
Cottage cheese.
Low fat cottage cheese, that sort of stuff as well.
All that sort of stuff is
first
great.
Class proteins. If you take a look at the free download that we gave you, it was a download link earlier on. It wasn't the recipe book. This was one you had to download from a page. If you look at that, there's actually, I think it's step 3. There's a whole list of first-class proteins in that.
If you forget what we're saying,
as well.
and you're at the supermarket. And the other thing too is if this is all going, if this is a little bit too much over your head, just go to the recipes that you've downloaded, and you can. It's your safest bet.
Starting from there. Start eating from there, because those meals that we've given you are perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
They've got the right amount of protein, the right amount of
plant
food, all of that stuff that you need to be satisfied from the meal.
Which brings us to our action task.
You want to give it to them?
So post your favorite meal from that recipe ebook that we've given you, and even the ones that we've been posting as well. You know, we had that Mexican one yesterday. Have we posted the burgers yet?
I think so. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, and then there's the dessert, the Mocha Delight. So one of those, post it in the Fit Mum support group and let us know your thoughts.
Awesome. All right. Well, good to see you've got that ready for tonight, Alicia.
Woohoo! Let us know.
I'm picking up from your comments. So yeah, let us know how you go with it.
Thanks for tuning in, mamas, and we will see you Monday. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.